Before we get into the video, could everyone please subscribe to my channel? Thank you so much. My name is Ethan Johnson, nicknamed Rotten Life Ethan. I'm the scumbag in those chasing after a married man, the one who broke up childhood sweethearts, ran off with a campus belle to skip school, street race, and go to budget motels. That day, I was discussing campus safety with a fat guy when several luxury cars surrounded us. I was wondering which deity I'd offended when a well-dressed couple stepped out of one of the cars. The woman started bawling the moment she saw me, making my ears hurt. The man looked at me without expression and said, "I'm your biological father." I stood in a huge Carter estate, my face showing the same wide-eyed look as Lou Lauo arriving at the Grandview Garden. Don't say I'm hopeless. I'd lived in an old apartment building in Wilton since childhood, and I never even dared imagine an estate of this caliber. By the way, since you're so rich, how did you lose me? I asked that innocent question, and Daniel Miller and Olivia Carter's faces instantly darkened. "Brother," a weak voice came from behind me. Before I could turn, goosebumps rose all over my body. When I looked back, a man about 1.9 meters tall and well-built was looking at me with watery eyes, almost making me nauseous. "Who is this fake sweet tea?" I blurted out. "I'm Lucas Miller, your younger brother." Probably because I called him green tea, his voice returned to normal. "My younger brother?" I looked at the man half a head taller than me, and after a moment said, "You sure eat well." Unexpectedly, after I said that, his eyes immediately turned red. Grabbing my hand, he said, "It's all my fault. If we hadn't been switched as kids, you wouldn't have suffered so much out there." His words left my head spinning. Before I could think it through, Daniel explained beside me. "His birth mother, who is also your adoptive mother, Linda Miller, used to be our family's housekeeper. When you were born, she secretly switched you with Lucas, which is why you've suffered outside for so many years." I blurted out without thinking, "A fake heir." Lucas seemed to have read similar stories. The corner of his eye twitched as he looked at me pitifully. I always thought that kind of plot only existed in novels. I used to complain that if I were the father of the true and fake heirs, I'd have sent the fake one away before bringing the real son back for the wedding. Otherwise, who could stand it? I looked at Daniel and Olivia, speechless, and asked straight out, "Then why did you keep him here?" "For me to beat him up and vent." As soon as the words fell, Lucas's eyes turned red, and voice breaking, he said, "I know it's my mother's fault. She caused my brother to wander outside all these years. Everything in the Carter family belongs to my brother. I stayed here today to apologize to my brother. No matter how he wants to beat me or scold me, even if he takes my life, I have no complaints. Brother, this isn't your fault. Why are you apologizing?" A pleasant female voice came from behind. I didn't turn around. At that moment, a multi-tool knife slipped from my sleeve into my right hand, and before anyone could react, it pierced Lucas's neck. A gush of blood spurted out. Lucas's eyes were full of disbelief, as if to say, "This isn't how the script goes." I let out a long breath and looked speechlessly at the convulsing body on the ground. I had thought that after I went missing, those two unreliable parents had produced another manipulative woman who was afraid I'd take the inheritance and was trying to show up in front of me. Turns out he was the son of the very person who made me suffer for more than a decade. Damn it. Instead of hiding at home, you had the nerve to prance in front of me. If you don't die, who will? This stab felt more satisfying than downing a bottle of Budweiser on a sweltering summer day. Looking at Lucas on the ground, bleeding profusely, I closed my eyes and murmured to myself, "When I die and go to heaven, I will choose to forgive your wrongs. But before I pardon you, you'll have to spend some time in hell to atone for your sins." Amen. "Ethan, what are you doing?" Daniel shoved me away from behind, pressing his hand to Lucas's neck and shouting, "Doctor!" Olivia and another girl rushed over as well and gathered around Lucas. Soon, the family doctor in a white coat ran up. After treating the wound, a few bodyguards lifted him onto a stretcher. I stood in the doorway blocking their path and said calmly, "He might not want you to save him." I blinked my innocent big eyes. "You all heard him. He said he'd give his life to me. He sounded so sincere. If I didn't do something, he'd probably be so guilty he'd get up in the middle of the night and jump off a building. It's the first time I've met someone so kind. I took out my phone and pressed play. Lucas's voice repeated throughout the estate. No matter how my brother beats or scolds me, even if he takes my life, I have no complaints. I silently thanked my campus belle girlfriend, Sophia Taylor, for the phone she gave me. Daniel's gaze fell on the multi-tool knife in my hand that was still dripping blood. I smiled sheepishly. As an orphan, it's normal for me to carry a multi-tool knife for self-defense. Step aside. Daniel glared at me viciously. I turned to let him pass, and in my peripheral vision, I saw 2 bodyguards approaching me, one on each side. You can't fight physics with those bodyguard builds. Any one of them could lift me and beat me. Besides, the blade pierced a major artery. When I pulled it out, I even twisted it a few times to make sure it cut through. If someone survived that, I'd have to suspect he's the chosen one. Speaking of the chosen one, I should mention that I'm a transmigrant. In my previous life, my family was harmonious. We weren't rich, but we were comfortably off. I never expected that on the night of Wilton High's graduation exams, when I went with some classmates to the Star Night Bar to see the world, 2 men started arguing to steal the spotlight. They were in the booth next to mine, and when they threw a bottle, it accidentally hit the back of my head. When I woke up again, I had become a 12-year-old boy. I retained the memories of my original self. It was like the fog of gestation had been cleared. Damn, you can imagine how furious I was. 12 years of elementary, middle, and high school all over again. What made it worse was that the boy I transmigrated into lived in a single-parent family. The father's identity was unknown. His mother, Linda, didn't care for the child at all. She left scraps of leftovers for me each day, and after I ate, she'd go play cards, leaving me to do the housework. If she lost money, she'd beat me as an outlet. I went to school only because of the compulsory education policy. The community service center had contacted her several times. Otherwise, she wouldn't have allowed me to attend. People are easily affected by comparison. In my previous life, my family was happy and complete. But in this life, I got such a vicious mother. After enduring more than half a year of torment, I felt like I was going crazy. So, I began to resist. A 12-year-old boy fighting a woman whose limbs are lazy makes it hard to predict who will win. As I stole Linda's money to gorge myself and replenish my nutrition, the split in our fights shifted from 30 to 70 to 20 to 80 as I grew older. In 2 seconds, I could slap her 8 times. Unfortunately, she grew clever later, hid the money outside, stopped cooking for me, and every time I laid hands on her, she would make a huge scene to attract the neighbors. There was no choice. I could only earn some pocket money in dollars at school to cover my meals. But that money wasn't given for free. My targets were students being bullied, and once the money was in place, I guaranteed they wouldn't get beaten. Transmigration was already absurd enough, but I didn't expect to run into a plot about the real and fake young master. I'd read a lot of novels of this type in my past life. They all basically start the same way, dragging on for hundreds of chapters, and only near the end does the real young master send the fake one to prison, and the rotten father, mother, and sister get their comeuppance. Even those that claim to be ruthless and decisive usually beat the fake young master up in the opening chapters and still end up following the same pattern. I suppose it's understandable. If they killed him in chapter 1, what would they write afterward? When I found out Lucas was the biological son of that woman, Linda, that she wasn't my birth mother, I developed murderous intent toward him. I don't know whether those parents will, like in the novels, be mindlessly partial to the fake young master in everything. But I'm sure that in 18 years, even raising a dog creates feelings. A young master raised in a wealthy household like that. My simple and straightforward blonde tricks can't compete at all. If his parents favor him even more, I'll suffer later. I've truly had enough suffering. While they just brought me back and were their most guilty, stabbing him to death would be the best move. The longer I stayed here, the more Daniel and Olivia would think. He suffered so much before. Now we've given him a life of luxury, and that little pang of guilt would gradually fade. By the time I quarreled with Lucas, they'd instinctively believe I couldn't tolerate him, that I was petty. You can tell that from the way all three of them rushed to the hospital to protect Lucas. As for the consequences of killing him, whether they'd throw me in jail, that could be dealt with later. Even if they caught me and executed me, it would be an even exchange. Whether I live or die is meaningless. At least I take someone down with me. If he lives, my resolve will waver. And no matter how many luxury cars or villas I get later, I won't be happy. If they're willing to spare me, a wealthy family can make someone disappear without difficulty. And then I'd come out way ahead. Hey, you there? Give me something to eat. I casually ordered one of the butlers. Seeing the knife in my hand, still dripping blood, he nodded and bolted. The reason I could stab through Lucas's neck so precisely was that in my previous life, my mother and older sister were doctors. And when I was bored, I used to stab the anatomical models my sister brought home. After I ate my fill, I found a room to sleep in. I slept until nightfall, and the three of them didn't come back until then. Ethan, I know you hate Lucas for stealing more than 10 years of your life, but you can't go and kill him. Olivia's eyes were red as she said to me plaintively. Daniel slapped at me as soon as he saw me. Luckily, I was agile and dodged. I stood in the living room. Daniel's face was terrifyingly ugly. Another beautiful woman looked murderous as she said, "Mom, stop talking. A life for a life. He killed his brother. Send him to the police so they can execute him." That woman was Chloe Carter, my biological sister. When I heard the news of Lucas's death, I forced myself to suppress the smile at the corner of my mouth. Time to perform. I tore off my clothes, revealing the dense scars all over me. My eyes gleamed. My voice sounded like a cuckoo crying blood as I accused them. You all talk so easily from where you stand. I was beaten by that wicked Linda since I was a child. Look at these scars. She did them. For a long time, I couldn't understand how anyone could be such a cruel mother, not treating her child like a person and abusing them at will. When you found me, I finally realized someone had stolen my life. Mom, do you know how happy I was when you found me? I thought heaven hadn't abandoned me, that the monster who abused me for over 10 years wasn't my real mother, and that I did have a mother who loved me. But when I saw Lucas left here and people said it wasn't his fault and didn't even offer an apology to me, do you know how hopeless that made me? 4. Get out. Help. Chloe screamed and wailed. My eyes were bloodshot, my tone excited, so similar. When Linda abused me before, I screamed for help the same way, but she wouldn't let me go. Sis, can you feel my pain? Daniel and Olivia each grabbed one of my arms, trying to take the small knife from my hand. During the struggle, Daniel flung the knife away. As luck would have it, it cut across Chloe's face. A line of blood appeared on her beautiful cheek, and a piercing scream rent the entire manor. After the fighting subsided a bit, I calmed down and bowed to Daniel and Olivia. Dad, Mom, I'm sorry. I lost control just now. I did stab Lucas, and I should turn myself in, but thank you for letting me know that my parents actually love me. If I go now, I probably won't see you again. Before I leave, can I hug you? Olivia's expression was complicated. She had just recovered from a shock. No matter what, blood is thicker than water. 18 years of feelings made it impossible for her to let go of Lucas. But Lucas was already dead. How could she bear to send her only biological son to die? She had only intended to teach him a lesson, to vent, and because she feared his lawlessness would get him into trouble later. But seeing the wounds on his body and his manic state, she could guess how much he'd suffered at the hands of that woman, Linda, and her maternal instincts were fully awakened. She slowed her tone. You foolish child. What nonsense are you talking about? Lucas clearly committed suicide. What does that have to do with you? Honey, Mom. Daniel and Chloe looked at Olivia in disbelief. Olivia's brows shot up, and she snapped coldly, Shut up. She looked first at Daniel. Are you going to send your own son to prison for the sake of a criminal's child? Then she looked at Chloe. And you, Ethan is your real brother. If you stand up for Lucas, then you'll have to endure all the hardships Ethan went through all these years. Chloe cowed, not daring to speak. Ethan hadn't hit her very hard just now. Only superficial wounds that would heal in 10 days to half a month. But even so, it had scared her to death. Not to mention actually having to endure Ethan's cruelties. She darted off to tend her wounds. Seeing this, I immediately knelt at Olivia's feet and with heartfelt sincerity cried out, "Mom, damn, I was almost out of character. Last night, I lay in bed and couldn't sleep, replaying the plots of the switched heir stories I'd read before. To be honest, a wealthy heir being switched at birth is already absurd. If any old butler could pull it off, 90% of butlers in the world would try such schemes since everyone wants to climb higher. Even more outrageous is the fact that Linda and the Carter family actually live in the same city, Wilton City. That's just flaunting it. From Lucas and Chloe both taking Olivia's surname, Carter, it's not hard to guess that Daniel is a live-in son-in-law. The fake heir being the illegitimate son of the pampered CEO father is a common trope in many switched heir stories. Mom, look at this family photo. Take a close look. Lucas and Dad actually look quite alike. If you didn't know, you'd really think they were biological father and son. With that suspicion, I started putting eye drops in Daniel first thing this morning. Nonsense. I'm the only woman your mother ever was with. Where would an illegitimate child come from? Daniel's face changed slightly. He immediately ordered, "Someone take that painting down. Lucas is dead. It's not appropriate to have it hanging in the house. And Ethan, go call your sister downstairs." He spoke methodically, without the slightest sign of panic. But that didn't matter. My words weren't meant for him anyway. I noticed Olivia's expression shift. She had clearly heard me. If she isn't too stupid, she'll have a DNA test done for him and Daniel before Lucas is cremated. If things turn out the way I suspect, it'll get interesting. Bang, bang, bang. "Chloe, come out for breakfast." I walked to the second floor and knocked on Chloe's door. It opened in less than a minute. Chloe was wearing a mask, hiding the lower half of her face that had been scratched. When she opened the door, she instinctively took a half step back, looking a little withdrawn. Such pretentiousness. Back in the day, when Linda beat me until my face was black and blue, I still went to school. I wasn't like this. "Hurry downstairs. Dad's called you to eat," I said without the slightest courtesy. Chloe lowered her head and quietly followed behind me. As the old saying goes, if you don't speak reason, I know a little about fists. With a spoiled young miss like this, a good beating will make her obedient. If she's still not, then it simply wasn't hard enough. Going downstairs, a girl whose looks were no less than Chloe's and a sunny, handsome young man were already seated below. They were Emma White and Ryan White of the White family. "Chloe, why are you wearing a mask? Do you have a cold?" Ryan spoke, and a strong tone of ingratiation wafted over immediately. "Ahem." Chloe cleared her throat and said nothing. Being scratched on the face by the brother she had just reclaimed was a family disgrace. It definitely couldn't be aired publicly. Knowing Ryan's temperament, once he found out, he'd surely go after Ethan. If Ethan were bullied and then took a stab at settling things with her, she'd be utterly ruined. "Where's Lucas?" Emma asked Chloe. She was Lucas's fiancée under the engagement arranged since childhood. After hearing about the real and fake masters of the Carter family yesterday, she came early this morning to back Lucas up and to warn Ethan not to get any impolite ideas. Olivia lifted the coffee in front of her, took a small sip, and said evenly, "Yesterday, Lucas couldn't accept that he wasn't a Carter child. And with his birth mother often abusing Ethan, he couldn't bear it and killed himself." Emma sprang to her feet. "Impossible. Absolutely impossible." "That's entirely possible." Olivia put down her coffee cup and looked at Emma. "Emma, Annie knows you and Lucas grew up together and are close. You should know he's a kind boy who can't bear inner guilt. It's normal that he couldn't think clearly for a moment. He got what he asked for. You should be happy for him." I have to say, Olivia's words really hit my funny bone. If there hadn't been so many people around, I would have burst out laughing. Emma's expression turned very ugly, but she still didn't believe Olivia. "Auntie, I don't believe you. Did you send Lucas away? Tell me where he is so I can see him. I know if your Carter family doesn't want him, I could take him in." She spoke incoherently. Even as a proper young lady, she was, after all, still under 18. Upon suddenly hearing news of her lover's death, she could hardly remain composed as before. "If you don't believe me, I'll hold a small memorial for Lucas in a few days and invite you to attend." Olivia's words mercilessly shattered her last illusion. Emma became somewhat delirious, murmuring to herself, "Impossible. This can't be." Then she glared at me with hatred. Her voice was cold as a vengeful ghost. "It's all your fault. It must be you who hurt Brother Lucas. Don't you ever think that just because he's gone, I'll marry you. I'm telling you now, give up that idea." With that, she left without looking back. Ryan chased after her and, pausing at the door, said apologetically, "Chloe, I'll come see you next time." After they left, I blurted out reflexively, "Young miss, that's really gross." Only after speaking did I realize all three were staring at me. Damn, I was so used to talking badly about people behind their backs that I forgot to stop. "Mom, who are those two?" I asked without any shame. "Those are members of the White family. Your grandfather was betrothed to Emma's grandfather when they were children. She grew up with Lucas," Olivia explained. "Got it." I nodded, then said, "Mom, I'm going to Wilton High School. Could you arrange for a driver to take me? I haven't graduated yet. I'm about to take the Wilton High School graduation exam." I wasn't going to slack off just because the Carter family took me back. Setting aside how cold the affection in rich families is in the novels I've read, I firmly believe relying on others is no substitute for relying on myself. "Also, Mom, can I pack some food to take to school? Linda never gives me any US dollars." Olivia rolled her eyes at me irritably. "If you want money, just say so. Here's the card." She pulled out a black dollar card with no spending limit and handed it to me. I didn't stupidly ask how much was on it. Whatever it was, it certainly wouldn't be little. "I've also changed your surname. From now on, you'll be called Ethan Carter." "Okay, thanks, Mom." "Love you, Mom." This time, calling her Mom came from the bottom of my heart. For the sake of the black heart, I admit Olivia is the second best mom I've ever had in 2 lifetimes. "You little brat. Money makes your eyes light up," Olivia scolded me. "Wifey, I'm off to the office." Daniel stood up somewhat irritably, only to be pushed back down by 2 bodyguards as soon as he rose. Olivia's expression turned icy in an instant. "You're not going anywhere today. Until the DNA test results come back, you will stay in this house." Daniel's voice grew anxious. "No, honey, what are you doing?" He seemed to realize something and glared at me viciously. "You didn't really believe that little brat, did you? Did you really think Lucas is my illegitimate son? After all these years of my devotion to you and dedication to the company, you suspect me over someone else's words." Olivia's eyes did not waver at all. "Ethan is not an outsider. He is my biological son. Back then, I fired Linda because you were too attentive to her. I was even brainwashed by you into thinking I had fired her out of jealousy, which led to her retaliating by swapping the children. I felt some guilt for that, believing I had harmed 2 kids. But once Ethan brought it up, I did start to have doubts. So until the test results are out, you'd better behave and stay put. If it turns out I wronged you, I'll apologize. But Linda was brought in by you, so you bear part of the responsibility for this." A few words finished, Olivia's ruthless decisiveness was fully apparent. Daniel slumped on the sofa as if he had lost all strength, covering his face and crying. "You actually don't believe me. Married for over 20 years, and we don't even have this little trust. How could I harm my own child?" Chloe looked at her father's state with some pity. "Mom, Dad isn't that kind of person." Seeing Olivia unmoved, Daniel spoke again with a hint of threat. "What about the company? I've been running the company all these years. If I stay home, won't the company fall apart? My father is only 65. 10 more years of hard work won't be a problem." Olivia ignored him, plucked a few strands of Daniel's hair, and decisively turned and left. After Olivia left, Daniel looked up and glared at me with venom. I said with a grin, "Dad, so you're kept, man." With that, I turned and bolted without looking back. Just as I arrived at the entrance of Wilton High, I saw Jake Wilson loitering by the school gate. The moment he saw me, he rushed over and punched me right in the face. "Who am I?" "I'm Ethan, the blonde kid." There was no way I was just going to stand there and take it. I kicked him in the stomach, sending him flying. He looked at me with pure hatred, his gaze every bit as fierce as Daniel's had been moments ago. "Do you have any idea Sophia was taken by her mom to get an abortion? Don't you feel the least bit ashamed? That's great. I'm sure her mom will give her the best care." I scoffed, not giving Jake another glance as I walked past him and into the classroom. I'm a blonde, but that doesn't mean I'm not planning to take the Wilton High School graduation exam. After all, before being recognized by the Carter family, it was my only way out. Speaking of my story with Sophia, it's pretty melodramatic. I'm usually a smooth talker and tease young girls a bit. Sophia was one of them. That was just a way to keep up my persona. After all, in this world, I had no parents. If I didn't act a little bad, not only would I miss out on pocket money and dollars, I'd be the one getting bullied. I didn't expect that after I teased her for a while, Sophia would actually start chasing me. I thought she was looking for excitement, and since she covered my food and lodging, I was willing to play along. Instead, she insisted we apply to the same university and started supervising my studies. The exam content in this world isn't much different from my previous life. I don't remember my graduation scores back then, but I was always top 3 in the grade. Why would I need Sophia's tutoring? If I did poorly on purpose, it was to maintain my blonde persona. If I'd been first in the grade, I'd be extorting classmates 1 minute and then have a homeroom teacher, dean, and principal all come and elect me the next. As for scholarships, I can eat meat every day with my pocket money. Scholarships would at best let me see a little minced meat. Unexpectedly, Sophia wouldn't let it go. I casually said we were just playing. We'd split up after graduation. Don't take it seriously. She insisted she was sincere and wanted to prove it. So, she dragged me to a cheap motel. I have to say, Sophia's figure and face were undeniable. Having been reborn into this lousy world, I was already hot-headed, and her words excited me. But considering Sophia was only 18, I still took precautions, went to one of those machines that gives out free boxes if you show ID, and picked one up. The quality was terrible, and in the end, I still got caught. Sophia cried and asked me what to do. What could I do? I couldn't even come up with the money for an abortion, let alone support her through confinement. So, of course, I told her to go back to her parents. But now I have money. I'm a young master of the Carter family. So, if it's right later on, marrying her off isn't out of the question. 3 days later, a spry elderly man arrived at the Carter estate. When he saw me, he came over and gave me a hug. Good grandson, good grandson. I felt a little awkward and cast a pleading look at Olivia. This is your grandfather, George Carter. Call someone. Grandpa. I obediently called. After the usual polite exchanges, the 3 of them began to discuss the matter at hand. After investigation, Lucas really was Daniel's illegitimate son. It turned out Linda and Daniel were not only from the same hometown, but childhood sweethearts. They had agreed to marry once Daniel graduated from college. Unexpectedly, Daniel got involved with Olivia in college, became a live-in son-in-law, and abandoned Linda, unwilling to accept it. Linda came looking for him, and the old feelings between them flared up again. Later, Linda became pregnant with Lucas. Her due date was close to Olivia's, and at that point, Daniel had a vile idea. He wanted to pull a baby switch like in the TV dramas. Once his father-in-law died and the company's shares went to Lucas, the Carter Group would be renamed the Miller Group. Ethan, what do you think we should do with Linda and Daniel? Olivia left the decision to me. When she was young, she was love-smitten, but over time, her feelings for Daniel faded, and she focused more on raising the child. I killed Lucas, and she actually harbored some resentment, but she suppressed it out of blood ties and guilt. Upon learning Lucas was her husband's son with another woman, that bit of resentment vanished and was replaced by anger toward her husband. I thought for a while before, slowly speaking, how about leaving each of them with one leg and sending them back to Harpertown? They made me suffer for so many years. Asking each of them for one leg isn't excessive. After all, Linda did give me a meal to eat. Granting her the dream of spending her life with Daniel can count as repaying her. George and Olivia exchanged a glance and nodded together. If I were really going to kill my biological father, they'd have to worry about it later, too. Break both their legs and send them back to their hometown. Their lives would be over. This punishment was just right. 5 years later, at Emma White's 18th coming-of-age ceremony, Ryan and I exchanged a look and nodded to each other. Little sister, congratulations on becoming an adult today. Your brother will make a toast to you. Ryan lifted his glass to Emma. Thank you, brother. Emma finished the drink Ryan handed her, and before long, she felt dizzy, her vision blurred, and her steps unsteady. "Little sister, what's wrong?" Ryan, standing nearby, immediately stepped forward to support her. "Brother, I'm feeling dizzy." Ryan smiled and greeted the people around him. "My sister can't hold her liquor. I'll take her to rest." With that, he helped Emma away. At the door of the upstairs room, I had been waiting for some time. After taking Emma from Ryan, I carried her and was about to enter the room. Ryan grabbed my clothes, his expression serious. "Don't forget what you promised me." "I know." I had taken one step when he grabbed my clothes again, his eyes dark. Gently, I rolled my eyes, strode into the room, and locked the door. After setting up the high-definition camera, there were rustling sounds in the room. 45 minutes later, a waking Emma clutched the blanket and shouted hoarsely, "Ethan Carter, you scumbag beast animal, what did you do to me?" I calmly took out my phone and tapped play. "If you want to know what I did, watch for yourself. You actually recorded me." Emma scrambled to delete the video, seeing herself looking ridiculous on the screen. Before she could breathe a sigh of relief, my taunting voice came through again. "Go ahead and delete it." I backed it up to a dozen accounts. She trembled in despair, pointing at me. "What do you actually want? Marriage? Over my dead body? Then Miss White's pretty pictures will probably be enjoyed by the whole country." I walked to the door and left her with one sentence. "I'll hold this secret over you for the rest of your life. Also, I have obsessive cleanliness. Don't get too close to other men from now on." Actually, I was just trying to scare her. If the photos leaked, the White and Carter families would be completely at odds. Blame George. He insisted I marry Emma before he'd give me the shares. There was no helping it. Over the years, the White and Carter families had supported each other and grown fast with deep entanglements. A single marriage alliance wouldn't be enough to reassure both sides. Only if Ryan married Chloe and I married Emma would the two families be truly inseparable and able to cooperate more deeply. Half a month later, at the Carter estate, Ryan knelt outside Chloe's door, slapping himself repeatedly. I sat in the monitoring room, munching chips and seeds, enjoying the sight with Sophia standing behind me. Compared to the Carters, the Taylors were an insignificant little family. And since Sophia was hopelessly romantic, her parents could only hold their noses and accept that I was her boyfriend. After Emma gave birth to my child, I had a dream. In the dream, Linda's brutal beatings left me insecure and hypersensitive, and only one friend, Sophia, stayed by my side unwaveringly. After being taken back by the Carter family, my weak personality made Olivia and Daniel think I was useless. Behind my back, not only Lucas and Chloe, but even the butler bullied me. Later, at Georgia Strong's insistence, I married Emma. After marriage, Emma remained chased by Lucas until one day I discovered she was having an affair with him, and I wanted out of the marriage. On my way to file for divorce, distraught and lost, I got into a car accident. When I woke again, I found I had been reborn. This time, I gave up everything about the Carter family and instead pursued Sophia, who had always been by my side in my previous life. But on our wedding day, Jake attempted to jump from a building, and Sophia chose to leave me. In the end, I went abroad, and they all regretted it. Emma regained memories of her past life and discovered Lucas had been womanizing and had contracted AIDS, passing it on to her. She wasted away in a hospital and died without ever asking for my forgiveness. Jake's family went bankrupt, and he coveted the Taylor family's wealth. Sophia went abroad, trying desperately to win me back, but Jake stalked her all the way and tried to drag me to die with him. When Sophia found out, she took the fatal blow for me and died in my arms. I woke up in a dream at that point and couldn't help but scoff. What a shitty plot. Walking to the deluxe private ward, I said to Sophia, who was there to see my first child, "I'm very angry."